Good evening, everyone. My name is Elliot Wareham. I am a transportation planner with the Naugatuck+Valley Council of Governments, and tonight we're going to talk a little bit about this project we're working on with the city of Bristol to do a study for a multi-use trail that will connect West End to downtown Bristol. Just a brief rundown of what I'm going to go through tonight. Just a little introduction of the project, background, existing conditions, scope and timeline. And as much as this is a meeting for me to present what the project is, a big part of the project is public feedback, public participation. We want to know what the residents of Bristol want to see in terms of this project. What is the Naugatuck+Valley Council of Governments? So we are a voluntary association of 19 towns, which you can see all of which are right here. Funny enough, I should move my head. Yeah, Bristol is right there. And each chief elected official of each town serves as our board, one of which we have here tonight, Mayor Caggiano. And so what Naugatuck+Valley Council of Governments do, we're a regional planning organization. We're the federally designated MPO. So we do a lot with transportation planning, which is why I'm here tonight. So we receive federal money to plan transportation projects across the region, as well as we have land use staff who work in housing and economic development, that kind of thing, as well as environmental planners. So we do a whole range of things for the region. Specifically, why are we working on this project? We are supporting Bristol's efforts to create a transformative recreational space and active transportation corridor downtown. And for those of you who may not know, active transportation is a term that means pretty much any kind of transportation that is not a car or like a motorized vehicle. So that'd be biking, walking, scooting, rolling in a wheelchair, that kind of thing. So you're actively transporting yourself. Why else are we doing this? To hopefully revitalize the West End neighborhood and kind of provide some economic development. It's been kind of a distressed community, and we'd like to hopefully turn that around and kind of bring it back to life, so to speak. Just like I mentioned, we're hoping to create an active transportation corridor. We want to make sure that's a safe and accessible way for non-motorized users to travel. As much as this trail is going to be a recreational space, some people may be using it to go to work or commute and use it for kind of more practical purposes. Bristol has the Pequabic River, which is kind of an overlooked natural feature in a lot of ways. So hopefully this trail will be able to connect residents back to the river. And ultimately, this routing study is the beginning of furthering this project along, so the city will be able to apply for grants and construction, so this project will actually, get built. That's kind of the hope for any project like this. So it's just the very beginning of that process. So here's a map of what the study area is. So we've broken it down into 3 segments, 2 of which are a part of this project. The third is something that we'd like to look at in the future. So we're not going to be covering it under this project. I just thought I'd put it up there because it's interesting. But segment 1 is from Rockwell Park to Brackett Park. Segment 2 is from Brackett Park to 229, largely along Memorial Boulevard. And then eventually, like I said, segment 3 would ideally connect from that point at Route 229 to somewhere on the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail in Plainville. So some of the existing conditions of this, active transportation in the area. There is current limited pedestrian and bicycle access to downtown Bristol, specifically from the West End. And I've listed some of the projects that are recently have recently been completed or studied to kind of begin this process of bringing more active transportation opportunities to Bristol. Last year, the Naugatuck+Valley Council of Governments did a study on Route 229 to provide recommendations for an active transportation corridor north-south. That would be the top map. Just last year, they resurfaced Memorial Boulevard, which included adding a painted on-street mobility lane. And concurrently, the city of Bristol is working to redesign Route 72, which would be the bottom picture, because there was a few issues with the alignment of the street, the sharp curvature, and they'd really just like to kind of improve safety down there. So that's kind of the context of this project. It fits into a larger idea for what the city of Bristol would like to see in terms of active transportation. It's not an isolated thing. We'd really like to kind of create a network where people can go east to west, north to south, and be able to travel in all kinds of ways. Just to reiterate, project concept and goals is to create a safe and continuous east-west active transportation corridor in Bristol from Rockwell Park to Route 229. And like I said, to support future, hopefully recreational trails funding for design of segments 1 and 2 of this trail. And to go over the project scope and timeline, last month, we met with a project advisory committee, which included us at NVCOG, as well as people from Public Works, Parks, and Economic Development. And that was kind of the initiation of this study, to kind of talk as the experts, so to speak, of what we'd like to see this project become. And now here we are in March at our first public meeting, where we're kind of taking that initial first step and presenting it to you all, the public, who's really kind of the most important part of this whole project, because it's your city. You're the ones who will ostensibly using this trail. So we are here to gather feedback on the details and existing conditions, and identify any shortcomings that you all may see with the project. And tonight is just the beginning of a further public engagement strategy, which, as you can see under April, we are planning a walk audit, which is pretty much will have somebody guide anybody who would like to come on a walk of the routes to kind of see what it actually is like in person for people who may be using it before anything's actually built. So just kind of see like, oh, this really is not suitable for people to walk or bike, or like, oh, this is what a bike path could look here. So stay tuned for that. We are planning that hopefully sometime in April. We would also like to plan a design charrette potentially, where we will have maps and people will be able to put sticky notes on the maps and draw and really engage and kind of create what they'd like to see in terms of this. We also have an online survey, and we'll be doing public outreach to this entire period on social media and stuff like that. So public engagement is going to be really important for this project. Also in April, we are planning to do some data collection. So we'll be collecting traffic data, crash data, that kind of thing, to kind of see what some of the existing conditions are out there. And we'll continue identifying a routing option and prepare some potential implementation strategies to ensure, like I said, the project's actually completed. And the idea is that this study will be done sometime in early summer, and then we will hold a second public meeting to share findings and collect input on some of the potential routings that were identified in this entire process, and then we'll produce a final report. And then hopefully it will move to design, construction, etc. Now I would like to talk a little bit about some of the design standards for multi-use trails. Like I said, the Project Advisory Committee met last month. And in general, we would like to see this trail exceed minimum design standards where possible, instead of just being kind of like an everyday trail. We want this to be a destination where people want to go and kind of a transformative recreational space for the city. So that would include wider trail widths, shoulders where possible, hard all-weather pavement, and year-round access and maintenance depending on public works responsibilities. And other elements we kind of talked about were wayfinding, signage, lighting, bike parking, benches, trash cans, and public art potentially. And we'll have an opportunity later this evening to kind of talk about what that might look like, what everybody else might want to see in terms of elements and amenities, and what would make you all want to use a trail, that kind of thing. And ultimately, like I said, we want this to be transformative. So we'd like to mirror design standards of other nearby trails, such as the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which is, as you all may know, it's very popular. It's a big recreational destination in the region. Here is just a zoomed in picture of the segment 1 of routing from the eastern end of Rockwell Park to Brockett Park along the Pequabic River. And this is the part where we will probably we'll be most interested in identifying a potential routing. And here's some overhead pictures that we took in the fall. It's a bit hard to see since they're not at street level, obviously, and the river is kind of covered by the trees. But in the picture on your left, that is just southeast of Rockwell Park, and that's kind of where the path would come from. And then this is the same location, just in the other direction. So that's kind of where the path would potentially continue on. And then segment 2, like I said earlier, all of that is Memorial Boulevard, which there already is a bike lane, mobility lane painted on there. And that is our initial suggestion for what the trail would be. But like I said, we're here to get your feedback. So if you don't think that's a good idea, or you say you'd like a protected bike lane instead, we're here to hear what your kind of ideas are. And I didn't have a picture of that, unfortunately, but I got some pictures from Google Street View of the other ends of that segment. So the one on the left, that would be Brockett Park, and that's where it would start. And this is where 229 meets Riverside Ave. So that would be the end of that segment of trail. Just to reiterate, there is a whole host of future opportunities for public participation. Other than tonight, we've got the walk audit plan, the charrettes, the online survey. We have a website page. I put the link there, and the study team has been regularly updating this with timelines, meeting materials, and reports of anything else that we think the public would need to know. And like I said, we are continually doing social media outreach, sharing project updates and meeting materials, and kind of providing an opportunity for comments and engagement. And we still, for most of this, for like the walk audit charrette and the public meeting, we still don't have dates for that. So it'll be a good idea to keep posted, and then you'll all be able to stay engaged with this process. All right, I have done a lot of talking, so I would like to pass the mic, so to speak, to you all. I have a few questions on here I can read out. And the idea is that these aren't prescriptive questions. Anything you would like to say, anything you would like to ask, anything you would like to suggest, we want to hear that. But this is just to kind of get the ball rolling and provide some ideas of what you might want to talk about. So from where you live, how connected do you feel to economic and recreational opportunities? What destinations in or near the study area are important to you? Would you be likely to use a trail like this? What would make you more likely, less likely? How would you see yourself using this trail, biking, walking, etc.? What times of day or year would you most likely use a trail? and what kinds of design elements or amenities are important to you. So if anybody would like to provide any feedback, we'd love to hear from you.
I'll start. Well, I just know the Farmington River Canal has the restaurants, and to us, that's a big one,
Restaurants?
Yes. So places to stop and either
Yeah.
have an ice cream or even a brew pub, like a beer or whatever. I mean, along the trail, walk to and get to it and then walk home.
Yeah,
Whatever.
absolutely.
Are you watching from that online as well?
But it should be. Yeah.
I'll ask him, not part of this discussion, but you talked about your social media engagement.
Mhm.
I don't know anybody who's heard about this meeting. Where did you advertise it?
Sure. It's Desiree, do you want to speak on this? Yeah.
So, hi guys, Desiree Blanchard, I'm the Communications and Community Engagement Manager. So for this particular meeting, we put it on our social media, we did share with the city, and I believe the Public Works Department shared as well. We put it in the Bristol Post, Press, the Bristol Press, did a brief in their paper as well. We did try to insert ourselves on social media into some of the Facebook groups. We did some different talks. There's a Bristol Summit and Thomas and Ivory page. So trying that as a strategy as well, that for people frequent more than they would recognize all our pages. And so we continue to do that. Mostly relying on verbal mouth, right? But would love your insight. That's another reason why I'm here, to hear where you guys get your sources from. In case I'm not loud. But definitely would love to understand what are some outlets that you guys use more frequently. What are places that you know, word of mouth is not always the strongest to, especially if it's not places that you find. And we do try to rely on a lot of like the city sources, so like the library, the Public Works Department, Bristol All Heart is another one that we use, and they posted it as well. But if there's any places that you go to that, you know, we may not be aware of, definitely would love to take that information as well.
My only comment along those lines is, I think I shared it once, and so I will fix it already, from there, it's quite a few views. I think we just need to do it more often.
Yes.
As well, for the next meetings. I mean, we can contact, I did it last meeting on Instagram today, because I thought of it, but you can remind me, that would be good, and just forward it to me, and we'll get it out there.
Certainly.
One other suggestion too, there is a bike shop pretty close to this.
There is.
Paper, you know, leaflets in there would probably be a great
I
idea.
would say cycling communities and running communities would be first
Yeah.
and foremost.
Yeah, we have the Shamrock race and run on March 18th.
Oh, that's great to
So,
know.
I will be running in that as well, too, so you guys can give me material and I can get it up there. Or
Yeah.
want to do something for that. That would be a great idea.
These are all great ideas. Definitely we're trying to get to the institutions, like senior center was one that we reached out to, the Y. Some of the community groups. I'm just moving back to my. But yeah, so you know, a lot of the community groups, the religious institutions and things that are listed, you know, that we could find on a Google search or on the Bristol All Heart, those places that were listed are the ones that we did try to share out and try to get the message out. But again, certainly open to doing more work, and thank you for sharing those local shops that we can get into, and that time we'll be able to leave put in paper.
Will this session, you're soon recording it, will you put this on the webpage?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Well, I'll share that, like, slides too as well. I think
Yeah.
that'll be helpful. Yep, which I do believe they did, actually.
That's how I heard about it.
Yeah.
That's to be clear, so.
I'm here representing Bristol's online community newspaper called the Bristol Edition.
Sure.
And we do try and put a lot of these things in, but I don't think we were contacted about this. I may be wrong,
Yeah,
but I do have a question also.
absolutely.
My wife and I both love walking Rockwell Park as it is now.
Yep.
It's a great trail around the pond there, and then there's a good section of trail that follows right along the Naugatuck River, and it really is lovely. You can hear the river rolling along and gurgling and everything, and it gets down to about that section where you say you're gonna pick it up. And I guess my question would be, I have two. One would be, is there gonna be a way that you'll be able to keep at least part of this trail along the river, like at where Park Street is? Or is it gonna have to be alongside the road? And the second thing is, I wouldn't be crazy about it if I had to stop at every intersection and wait for lights to change to be able to keep this going. So Park Street and West Street, North Main Street, Main Street, there's a lot of intersections going on down there. Is there gonna be a way for that to be avoided in some way?
Sure. What was your first question again? I had an answer for that, and I have an answer for the second one too. Yes, so the idea is that that first segment will have its own designated right of way, right, along the river, ideally.
So, I can help answer that. I'm the director of transportation planning for SB5. And so we did go out with Public Works and do a walk along it. And basically from that point where it'll begin on Jacob Street, the goal is to keep it as close to the river as possible.
Yeah.
Until we get down to around the School Street area. And so it'll either be, there's a couple of places where we're actually gonna try and bring it down to the level of the river. So you'll be right there. And then there's places where it'll have to be kind of up on the, at the top of the bank, but we'll still try and be immediately adjacent to the river for that entire line. There's also something we're looking at and trying to, still figuring out on the routing side. There will be at least one place where we'll have to cross the river, we'll have a bridge over the river, which we think is not only going to be functional, but it's going to be a real, it'll be a nice spot. And there's a possibility that there will actually be 3 river crossings. And so each of these will be a feature in themselves in addition to, because of the, because we'll be crossing the river, it'll be, especially in the fall, a nice place to stop and look and enjoy. So yes, the goal is to keep it as close to and as tied to the river.
Great. How about all the intersections?
I don't know if we can say for sure yet. There's a variety of ways that engineers kind of deal with this, one of which is this thing called a hawk, which lets trail users have the right of way over. Can you explain a hawk better than I can probably?
Yes, so at the moment, we actually don't have a good answer as to what to do to not have to stop at every intersection.
Yeah.
So a hawk is a pedestrian actuated overhead signal, which I know this is hard. So you come up against it, there's a push button like there would be at a normal stoplight, and overhead you have, instead of it being something that flashes like a standard, the like flashing yellow light you see on the side, it is overhead over the road. And so it first flashes yellow, until traffic is going to turn red. It then turns solid red. And at that point, pedestrians get the cross signal. You still have to stop for it. And so I understand what you're saying, especially the cyclist, it can be difficult to have to make that many stops.
Especially in that shorter.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we'll look at some options and see if we can, we'll do as much as we can to reduce the number of times you have to stop, and especially the number of times you get off. Right? And unfortunately, parts of that area are a little space constrained, and so we do have to work with what's there already. But yeah, no, I agree. I think as much as we can avoid making people stop to keep, to make those crossings move.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, speaking for myself, I've ridden the farm, trail many times, and I've taken it from my house all the way over there without any bike trails or anything like that. So one of the long-term thought processes, which is great here, is going to connect people to that trail, which is a longer, much more active bikeway. For me, one of the other big reasons to dig this back out again, I think Bob said this for 12 years, is because of what's happening downtown. So beyond biking, there are certainly the ability for people to walk from Rockwell Park to downtown to visit future restaurants. We have certainly multi-use properties coming. People are going to be living and recreating downtown a lot more. I will share with all of you, this is kind of an inside thing, is 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, when I was first elected, Bird Scooter came to talk to me and said that they wanted to put scooters in town right now. And I laughed at them and said, there's no way we're putting scooters here. It's just years before the time that would make any sense. But if we were to have a trail like this in the next couple of years with the apartments that are going in downtown, with the different restaurants, this all would come together very well for the downtown area to allow people to walk, bike, cycle,
Right.
rollerblade, whatever, in the downtown area. And because Brackett Park is one that you mentioned, there's also another little, they're gonna call it pocket park, but it's not a big park, right along the river where Wallung was taken down. Twin Rockwell Park and then Memorial Boulevard, which is also a park. It's a nice way to connect all the downtown parks. So, and the only other little thing that I do want to mention is that with Route 72 and the fix that we see at 69 and 72, I have to be upfront and say that the DOT is looking to do something at the other intersection of 72 that's really not quite right. That's at Brackett Park,
Mhm.
where the cars have to come down Riverside Avenue, take a left and a sharp right to continue. We are going to be seeing in the next couple of weeks some plans from DOT to redesign that. And the real thought process, at least right now, heavy thought process is to go straight through Brackett Park, which doesn't eliminate Brackett Park, but will change it dramatically. So there'll be actually new land that will be created for the park, but that park may be spread out quite a bit along Route 72, which the bike path could work very well with in the future.
Yeah, we've actually been, we've been working with the department on that one as well, so we'll make sure that their plans and our plans are aligned.
One other community that hasn't been mentioned much is fishing. I mean, the Quabbin does get stopped.
Mhm.
People that are looking for spots, either in Memorial Boulevard Park or in other areas to just go fishing. I see people off the bridge at the corner of Middle Street all the time. And there are people who fish along Memorial Boulevard Park. So that's another community that we may benefit from.
Absolutely,
access
absolutely.
with this trail.
And we've seen similar benefits in other communities, especially along the Naugatuck River Greenway and parts of the farm.
I think Cheshire has one of the overhead actuated that you were talking about.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
We should look at your website, and look, I was looking at it, and it's very good, looks like.
Great.
I should look at it before a game.
Just curious how many towns you guys have been associated with over the years as part of initiating these projects.
Yeah, so we have 19 member towns. And so we've done similar work to this in all 19 of them.
Okay.
But our, kind of our, I don't want to say our flagship project, because that's not quite the right description. But one of the biggest multi-town region-wide projects that we've been working on for more than a decade now is the Naugatuck River Greenway, which is going to be a 44-mile trail between Torrington and Derby. Yeah, and so, you know, between the 11 towns that are impacted by that, we are the Council of Governments that includes Cheshire, which has the Farmington Canal Trail. So we've been very fortunate that we have some really good active transportation facilities here. And we're excited to advocate for that.
So you're funded through grants, strictly, or?
No, so we're a little of everything, because we do multiple types of work. The majority of our transportation planning happens through federal money. We exist as a metropolitan transportation organization. And so any urban area with 50,000 people or more has to be represented by an MPO. And so we cover the Waterbury urban area in the center of our region. But we also part of the Hartford urban area, the New Haven and Bridgeport Sanford urban areas. And so we exist in the federal sense in that way. And then some of the work that we do is funded through the state. Because we don't have county governments here, we don't really have other regional entities. So we fill in some of that regional planning work on the state's behalf.
I was kind of joking with the mayor about this, but, you know, we've had discussions in this town for way back, 10, 12, 15 years. Is it really important to have somebody like you guys working with the town? Does it make it more possible to get these things actually up and running with the, you know, the Department of Transportation?
So. Yeah, we certainly like to think so, otherwise, yeah, we have no point, right? But, yeah, you know, I think it's. We are. Because we don't have the like day-to-day responsibilities of running the town, we can focus on some of these type longer term projects more specifically. And so that's part of our role, is to be professional services for the town. And so while we're not, well, I don't want to say that we have to be here or our presence makes this project more viable. But the fact that we're here and we can focus on this in a different way that the town can.
I was just curious if you had a little bit more pull with the federal, you know, parts than, you know, municipality, because of your experience.
Yeah, and we work very regularly and closely with the Department of Transportation, and with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, right? And so while the towns can still do this stuff on their own, we have those relationships and we have the experience doing these kinds of things. And, you know, I don't want to imply that the town couldn't do this themselves, but I would like to think that us being here.
I will add a big plug for you and say that honestly, we wouldn't be at this step yet if it wasn't for NBCOG, because
I'm curious.
we have so many other things going on right now that they're taking this ball and getting it moving for us, and we will partner with them and do it. I will also say, you know, even after 16 months as part of the COG, these projects can get more legs because you have groups. I mean, right now, this is a single town project, but look what they did in the Naugatuck+Valley, which was all NBCOG towns. So there is an awful lot of money out there on the state DOT level in particular right now. And we literally, Dawn is great, and she's our grants manager in town. But I could probably have her working on 10 of these things at once. And, you know, in order to take advantage of this unique time, NBCOG is essential for us. So that's why I showed up at this meeting, not the budget meeting.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Yes, that's another great point. We're lower on that, so.
No, it's
It's
just
not-
the
it's not-
momentum thing is what I don't want to lose. And I, you know, we've been in many discussions. I've walked that route 5 times in the last 15 years with many different people, with state people, with federal people, and it just seems to just, and how are we, you know, for the people who've been engaged in this for a long period of time, I think there's a few of my colleagues and that wouldn't even bother coming because they're like, yeah, we've been there. You know, so, you know, if this thing really, you think has some ability to grow some legs and run, I think the second meeting, you're gonna see a fair amount more people here.
I'd also recommend going on their website and looking at the Route 229 corridor study, which,
Can't wait to look at it, yeah.
you know, it's like you're saying, it's combining projects in Southington all the way through Bristol, from I-84 to Route 6.
Yeah.
There's a tentative plan that the state has seen and that they are encouraging us to apply for grant money for. And as you know, in cooperation with Southington.
Right.
And although this year, I don't think we could have hit the deadline if we worked 24/7.
Yeah.
But I think in the future, it's something that we're with their cooperation and with that study that we don't necessarily have the time as a single town or two, you know, town and a city to put together.
Yeah.
With every other project.
Yeah,
that we
no,
have. We
There's
have
always
five-
something that trumped it.
we have
Yeah.
We have 5 bridges going under construction.
Oh, I know.
You know,
Look at the Route 7269 intersection, look, that's 12 years in there,
Yeah.
but it's finally here, so
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of the pieces that are coming together.
It's
And
exciting.
in semblance that this makes total sense. And, you know, I would just speak from the financial part, which I'm gonna have to go to the budget meeting soon. we have the potential ability to do that in the short term with things like ARPA funding, with Connecticut DOT money and things of that sort, which is not gonna last.
Yeah.
Infinitum here, I mean, we're talking about 2026, and moving these things, so if we don't act now, we might miss the golden opportunity, and I really do thank Andy Todd for coming and lending your support and services to get us going, and then we're gonna work with them hand in hand throughout the entire process.
The infrastructure.
Yeah, that's the key.
And even, the state's been encouraging us with community connectivity grants. You've seen sidewalks
Yeah.
and accessible ramps going in, it's going in. We finished up a $300,000 contract. We have another 440,000 that we're finishing up, and we're putting together plans to go for another. For that, for up to 800,000.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah. We see how much is going.
There are funds out there.
Yes.
It's both.
Hunting them down.
And VCOG helps us out a great deal with kind of
Keeping the umbrella.
keeping the umbrella and looking at the overall picture versus the small things we have to look at on a
Oh,
day-to-day.
thank you guys.
Elliot, I thought I saw 5 people online too. I'd love
Yeah.
to do a
Yeah.
extra call out for them online before I went off to see if anybody, B. Hill reached out as well.
Yep.
And I don't know who Bob is, but
Ellie Flanagan.
but
He's a cyclist.
if Hillary or Bob want to comment, would love to hear your comments before I head off, and you guys certainly can talk as long as you like.
Sorry, hi, it's Hillary here. I've got a floating head in the dark. But yes, I thought it was I think it's a great idea to connect it to restaurants. That's one of the part of the trails that I love the most. I think it's there's a brewery down there. Here, I don't remember where it is. It's near Cheshire though. Go ahead. I think that's wonderful. There does need to be things for people to stop and enjoy. It's definitely going to be tricky to get a lot of this close to the river. And not have people stop as well. But I think, I love the fact that you mentioned, I think it was the Hawk you said. I haven't heard of that. There are definitely engineers who are going to know a lot more about this, to keep traffic moving and to keep people happy. And there's no reason not to do it. Like whatever you need from, hopefully I say this for the whole room, any of us, I'd love to see this happen. I know Ray has mentioned in the past that he would love to have, he's from the city with the engineering, well, he was with engineering. Whatever we can do to make this happen, I'm all for it. I don't think we would look back and say this was a bad idea.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you just looked at going along the train tracks? I mean, that would, I know you can't use them, but like alongside them.
30
there
feet.
enough?
30 feet each side, you can't.
Safety
It's
corridor.
safety, it's too dangerous.
30 feet is a lot.
The concept of rails with trails does exist out there. It's not really doable in Connecticut under our current legislation. And there's been, I don't know, a bunch of years in a row, there's been talk about it. But because that is an active freight rail line and the
Right,
privately owned right of way, it certainly makes it more challenging.
okay.
It is one of the things we are considering looking at though, when we go, Middle Street East. Is that something similar to that alignment might make sense.
That's why Plainville's not completed.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see, again, this is, it has been brought up as legislation for many years, and I'm sure will continue to be. But at some point, if that does change and the private railroads are interested in allowing something similar, it's possible. It just will certainly be more difficult.
Well, thank you again, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And because it does follow in with what we did, the Parks Department did a 10-year
We'll
capital.
find some money. We
And study, and it came out where we needed it, so, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that study.
I did not, but I should look at it.
Bristol Rec.com. For parking right
Bristol Parks Recreation,
now. But it's not, that's Anyway. You know, what goes on.
Well, so as Elliot said, this is just the beginning for us.
Yeah.
The most important thing to get this to happen and to come to fruition is having all of you provide comments and help us come up with something that's really good for the community and then and then support it as we try and move it forward. So, obviously, we're happy to hear any other questions or comments tonight, but
Yeah.
then I'll leave some business cards out. Elliot's emails are on the screen. We'll share this and all our contact information.
That's a link for a more quote unquote formal online survey. If anybody wants to put any input on that as well, asking some similar questions.
Yeah, but if you
yeah.
can.
I mean, I guess one comment I would have is, I think one of the challenges of making this project comes to fruition, I think a lot of people don't even know what the regional authority or council is even on. So I'm just speaking as a member of the general public.
Yep.
Where, you hear about the city and the state, and a lot of people don't even have a clue that there is something in between. So I think, when you're talking about social outreach, that's the big challenge. A lot of people just see Naugatuck+Valley, whatever. I don't know. I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
We get the community college is what people.
Yeah.
I went to community college.
Definitely is a big problem that we do have and something that we're trying to do better. We were at the Bristol Moon Festival last time and it's like half the conversation is just us trying to get our foot in the door and explain who we are. But yeah,
We're not there to offer a class syllabus, like we're.
yeah,
we're
it's
something
like,
we're not-
in school, or some people say, oh, Naugatuck, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
And
thank you for the
we're
time.
not Naugatuck, we're not the Naugatuck Community College, so definitely a point taken. We're trying to do better and would love to come out more. We'll talk to you guys. If there's things like we just need to come to the library and hold something and talk about who we are. We're open to the opportunity, we want to do better.
Yeah, so any way you can, any advice you can give us, anything you can do to help us.
Yeah.
Inform people that we exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I work for us and it wasn't until I started working here.
I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but I mean, it looks like an interesting project. I'd be excited to have more walkability downtown. Just about myself, I'm kind of newish to Bristol. I just moved here 2 years ago. I love walking around, usually the warmer months. But I think some people really need that walkability might be an issue. I'm not about to split myself, so if there was something from Rockwell Park to downtown, you're in downtown, you go to a restaurant, you walk over to the park, hang out. I mean, for me, that would be positive. I don't know how much general public would agree, but
This gentleman hit the nail on the head with the water running. The river is such a key part to this thing.
Mhm.
I mean, all across the country and, water downtown is, it's a recreational fortune.
Right.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely no.
So the closer, the tighter, we had to build it. Ray and I talked about it years ago, building it over the river. There were sections where you couldn't have the access, we talked about it. It's like, that's just a key piece.
absolutely.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah, the Derby Greenway, which is up on top of a flood wall
Yeah.
along the river,
Yeah.
is the most used section of trail in the state
100%.
because of the river, like the river makes a huge difference. And so, no, we agree. We want to be as close to it and as involved with it as possible. And part of the recommendation that came out of the 229 study that ties in with this is that corner of 229 and 72. You have the dam there, you have the great spot. And so that makes not only a good spot for a trail to have kind of a trailhead, but also a little park with access to the river and
The
Mhm.
town already owns it.
And the dam, there have been studies for the dam to go away.
I know,
yes.
I know.
Which I believe those plans are in Deep's hands right now, somewhere. So if the COG has any influence. Middle Street Dam, they're aware of it, but
We are working on, we are working,
bridges, so.
You're
No,
keeping
we have-
it damned.
we are aware of it, we're working on it. along the lines of that, knowing who we are, one of the things we're working on right now is the removal of the Kinney Town Dam Seymour. And so this won't be the first time we've ever worked on restoring natural flow to the river. So,
Yeah, but that is a big one, that. And it keeps coming up, and,
For decades
The-
again.
yeah,
It's been for decades.
I think it was,
I've been on the Florida River Watershed Association for many years.
they had the plans done,
Yeah.
the engineering, I believe, was done.
And everything, it's happened, but. Money.
Mhm.
yeah. So, but, you know, again, another spot where
Capital Region.
we can really like capitalize on the presence of the river and the asset that is a river downtown. Yeah, yeah. Or San Antonio,
Good, I'm very
the work they did, they turned around in the city.
You know, I'm very interested.
river's not quite.
Hey, I walked it, and
Well,
cleaned it out.
Yeah.
So,
I walked that whole length
Underneath?
underneath, yeah. That was interesting.
Jesus.
Confined space training,
Yeah.
everything, just, and we got in, near the Dollar General and
Yep.
came out by the coffee shop.
Yep.
Woo.
For you.
But yeah, did walk that.
must have been the learning experience, of very,
It was interesting. I would do it again.
okay, that's good to know.
Coffee shop has some facility a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look over the river and parks. Very nice spots.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully this not only, you know, provides the extra access to the west end, but it also really highlights the river, as a great asset for the city.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you, guys.
Thank
all
you
being
for
here. We
showing.
Appreciate it. And thank you for those online. We appreciate you as well.
Yes, thank you for everybody online for tuning in.
Please,
Townspeople.
share your thoughts all throughout. Doesn't have to be
Yes.
tonight.
And we hope to see some of you, all of you, at some of the other engagement opportunities. So stay tuned for those. Hopefully we'll do a better job of letting everybody know.
My suggestion to me, if you're holding your library, your contact with them,